Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satan and Coffee. It's a late start this morning. So I apologize about that, but my lazy ass just didn't wake up on time. So yeah, but here we are. Good to see everybody. Welcome. Late, yes, I know I'm late. This morning's kind of a fun one, I guess. I guess you'd call it a fun one, I suppose. Just kind of noticing the, what do you want to call it? Kind of like the overlaps between, occultism and, the electronic world that we live in, right? So techno-occultism and the digital daemon, right? So what even is techno-occultism, AI, daemons? Yeah, that's definitely what we're going to have to get into. Oh, I almost forgot because I don't usually do this. The shadow read for the day, right? Whereas, like I said, Apocrypha does the weekly read. This is, the daily read, or at least the days that the show's on. In my mind, I keep thinking, it's like, yeah, it would be nice to do Satan and Coffee every day, but I can barely make it on time doing Wednesdays and Fridays, plus Sundays. So, if I were to try to do this every day, I think I would just be setting myself up for failure. So, we're not going to do that, right? But let's see what the energy is for the day. Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so these cards do actually kind of seem like they fit together. So, first one was pulled. Triggered. Pain body, instant reaction, and unconscious loop. Right? So, as much as I hate the term triggered, it does logically make sense to some degree. But I think with this one for today is don't listen to other people's noise for today, right? Because I feel like triggered in this sense isn't like being offended, but rather holding too much, right? So try to filter out the noise is what I'm getting with that one. And that pulls right into this right here. Never enough. Chronic striving, self-doubt, and fear of failure. We let the noise in usually. Why? Because we want to know people's opinions. We want to know what they think of us. And, whether or not other people accept what it is that we're doing, that usually kind of indicates whether or not we're doing things the right way or not the right way. And again, the first card kind of sets this one up is just don't think about what other people are saying. Block out the noise, right? Stop doubting yourself based on what other people say and being afraid of failing because of what other people think, right? Acceptance isn't resignation. Surrender, presence, and inner peace. Funnily enough, it looks like we kind of get like a full circle read just with 3 cards. If you do fail, failing doesn't mean you're quitting. Failing doesn't mean that you stop. Failing simply means you found a way not to do it and you get back up and you do it again. So accept the failures, learn from the failures, and build peace from knowing that you can continue trying and block out the noise. Because when you fail, when you get up to try again, there's usually a lot of noise that kind of follows along with that. So it's kind of like what today's energy is kind of looking like, right? So You're not doing a bad job. You're doing the job that you're capable of doing. And there's going to be a lot of noise surrounding it. If there is noise surrounding it today, whatever it is that you're trying to do, if it's work, if it's a personal project, whatever it might be, block out the noise and just stay on track. Accept your own ability to get shit done. All right, so now that that's out of the way, what is techno-occultism? Right? What is it? What does that mean? Right? Sorry, I'm being requested to fill a vape. I'm gonna start charging for my desk services. So techno-occultism, the key concepts we need to talk about, right, is technology as symbolic system, code as modern sigil language, and software is intention crystallized. So technology as a symbolic system, technology does not operate only through function. It operates through symbols that teach behavior. Icons, notifications, badges, progress bars, and alerts are not decorative. They are meaning carriers. They tell you what matters, what is urgent, and what is rewarded, and what is ignored. Right? So, you know, a red notification dot means danger or urgency. You react before you think. Right? A streak icon frames consistency as virtue. Missing a day becomes failure. Symbol precedes choice. You respond to meaning before logic. Okay? So the symbolism inside of a system, inside of technology, is created and built for that control, right? And everything inside of your phone or, you know, on your computer is designed to get you to react. You don't think about what you're doing. You just do it, right? You know, it removes the thought process, right? It completely removes the thought process. Sorry, I just got really tired of that. That LUT and how the camera was looking. Very bothersome. So, apologies for that. I just need to switch that up a little bit. Right, so it's kind of like where the symbolism comes from. It forces us to act before we think about what we're acting on. Right, and we're given this dopamine reward system because even if what you're getting is just like a little digital flag that says congratulations, you're on a, you know, a message streak today. Like, think about it. Think about like TikTok. TikTok does this thing where like you get streaks when you talk to somebody. Right, the more you talk to somebody on TikTok and you send them TikToks, you get a streak. Right, so you get this little dopamine fucking hit. Right, that's designed and baked into the platform to keep you watching TikToks and sending them to the person you're talking to. And even if you say, oh, that's really stupid, your brain still reacts to it whether you want it to or not. Right, you want to get those little notifications. It forces you to want it. It's designed that way, right? So, code is modern sigil language. A sigil is compressed intent, designed to produce a result without conscious deliberation. Code does the same thing. It executes intention invisibly and repeatedly without asking for belief or consent once installed. Developers don't cast spells, they encode outcomes, right? So an algorithm trained to maximize engagement will surface outrage, not truth. Right? And recommendation engines learn your emotional triggers faster than you do. You never see the working, right? You only feel the effect. That is classic sigil logic, right? One of the things that, like, even Dyra's noticed, scrolling through like her Facebook feed and stuff like that, right? She's, on her personal account posting pictures of the baby and, stuff like that, sharing it with family. And so what does the algorithm do? It clicks on what it believes, or it shows what it believes you are most likely to click on. So if you're showing and talking about a newborn baby, what's the most dramatic thing that you're going to click on? What's the most guaranteed thing that you're going to click on? When you have a new baby. Well, your new baby dying. So the algorithm, instead of showing anything that is actually helpful, like tips and tricks or stuff like that, no, it goes directly to showing posts and other advertising things about SIDS and other things you need to be afraid of. Like, I used to always say that our culture is completely designed by fear. We operate as human beings based off of fear. We don't do anything for any other reason outside of fear. We don't kill people that we want to kill because we're afraid of consequences. We don't, I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with that, but I mean that, there's something wrong with that that's logical, but it's an extreme example. We don't go to work because we love our jobs. Most people hate their fucking jobs. Most people absolutely abhor their jobs. So why do you keep going to it? Because you want money, because you want to pay rent, because you want to buy food, because you want to buy the movie ticket, because you want the new computer, because you want the new chair, because you want the new camera, because you want the new microphone, because you want the new phone. That's why you go to work. Why do you want those things? Why do you want all of those things in your life? Those extensions of self. Because you're afraid of falling behind. You're afraid of not being a part of, the rat race, right? You're afraid of being hungry. You're afraid of being cold. It all can boil down to fear. Now, you might not consciously have that fear at the forefront of your mind. You not be like in the moment saying, I'm afraid of being cold when you're in, a nice warm apartment or house. But at the end of the day, you know that if you don't pay the rent, you're not going to have a house. If you don't buy food, you're not going to eat. That's why we work. We operate off of fear. So I used to always say that's what we do. We operate off of fear. And the thing is like modern day algorithms have kind of proven this point, because all social media platforms ask you, what are your interests when you open up the platform? But you very quickly begin to realize the more that you use social media that it doesn't start pushing out to you more things that you are interested in. It learns the integrated, important aspects of your life and then starts showing you the shit that you're afraid of. It starts showing you shit that's going to make you angry. Starts showing you shit that's going to make you sad. Because human beings are hardwired to react more aggressively towards negative emotion than we are to positive emotion. We are hardwired that way. I saw something, the other day that said, you're not perfect. Don't judge other people, based on how they look and stuff like that. And it's like one thing that people don't understand. And like, this is something that you're not going to be able to get past. We are hardwired to pass judgment based on how somebody looks. It is physiological. It is biological. It is hardwired into the reptilian part of our fucking brain. Why do we judge people based on how they look? Why do we judge a book by its cover? The reason we do that is because our brains are hardwired to understand that if you look at a lion or a tiger or a fucking bear, you know, that this thing is dangerous. This thing can fucking kill me. Right? We pass judgment because we are hardwired to identify danger by how something looks. Everything. You see a car on fire, a house on fire, guess what? Your brain is hardwired to know that fire is dangerous. It hurts, right? This is why the brain automatically, unintentionally passes judgment on a passerby, you know, on the sidewalk. Because your brain is automatically making a million calculations based off of personal experience and societal norms as to whether or not the person crossing your path is a potential threat to you or your family. We are hardwired to pass judgment based on how people look. We're hardwired to pass judgment on anything and how it looks. We react to visuals. We are a visual species. Particularly the male part of the species, right? We react both positively and negatively to visuals. And again, this is something that science and tech companies understand and know. So with all of that fear and visualization, tech companies know how to... Tyrogue, welcome, 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 hail. We are hardwired. They take that hardwiring and they bake it right into their platforms, right into their interfaces, right into everything that, you know, we do on a day-to-day basis. And they take full advantage leveraging it against us. So code is modern sigil language. Yeah, it works. It functions. It... You know, even the GUIs, you know, the graphic user interfaces, they take full advantage of it. You cannot deny the biology of thousands of years of psychological evolution. You can't. And it's hardwired into the reptilian brain. For all the technology and advancements that we have made, the reason why human beings have not made a significant psychological evolution or evolution of any kind over the last 1,000 years is because everything around us is intentionally designed to keep the reptilian brain active and functioning so it does not go to sleep, and to stop us from that move forward. And modern systems do that with a level of finesse that has never previously existed. Now, software as intention crystallized. Software is frozen will. Every feature represents a decision about how users should act. What is easy becomes normal. What is hidden becomes rare. And what is impossible becomes unthinkable. So, like buttons, train approval-seeking behavior. Infinite scroll removes natural stopping points. And default settings assume compliance, not choice. Intent becomes environment. Environment becomes behavior. So, if you look at technology as like a form of occultism, techno-occultism, so to speak. These are the layers of it, yeah? These are the layers inside of techno-occultism. The parts that, like, are inescapable. One second. So this is the language and the function of techno-occultism. Okay. So why do tools always shape behavior, right? So tools do not wait for misuse, right? Their structure guides action from first contact. You do not decide how to use most technology. You follow the path laid out for you, right? McLuhan's principle: the medium shapes the message. Okay, behavioral psychology shows environment influences decision making more than values. So if a tool rewards speed, you lose patience. If it rewards visibility, you lose privacy. And if it rewards outrage, you lose restraint. So all of these things, if you have to think about what these systems are rewarding when you use them, and then what you're losing by following that system. Right? So if, you know, the reward is, you know, like it says here, you know, visibility, like if you're showing your private life and stuff like that, and, you know, you're getting more interactions because people are getting to peek behind the curtain, you lose privacy, right? People that you don't know more about you, right? If it rewards outrage, you lose restraint. You get angry easier and faster because, and this is true to a fault, like when you look at things like, you know, like TikTok, especially because, you know, of rage bait, right? Rage bait, people making videos intentionally with the intention of pissing people off to make them interact, because a lot of people have understood that, you know, there is no bad press. No press is bad press. So if people are pissed off at you, they're still talking about you, right? If people are coming onto you and yelling and screaming at you because they think you're a fucking idiot, you might not actually believe the things that you're talking about, but guess what? People are still interacting with your content. So guess what? It still triggers that reward, doesn't it? And so people will create things that, you know, are intentionally designed to piss people off. You know, and it's just sad because, like, I sit here and I look at TikTok and I look at social media is so fucking dystopian. It really fucking is. Like, I want you to do something, right? In the chat, I want you guys to try something, right? If you haven't done this already. If you don't have TikTok, download it, open it up, whatever. And then go to the live section and just scroll quickly. Don't stop and watch anything. Just scroll quickly. And allow your brain to process the first snippets, the first milliseconds of information that's going through into your brain as you're scrolling. And it is the most fucking dystopian fucking thing that I have ever experienced. The amount of people that are nobodies, that aren't comedians or anything like that, that are so absolutely willing to sacrifice their personal autonomy, their agency, and their self-respect to get views. Making themselves look like fools on the internet because they want views. It's sad. It really is. It's so fucking sad. The amount of people that are, you know, going through a trying time in their life and broadcasting it to the entire world. I agree. Nothing is personal anymore. Nothing is private. You know, your privacy, sacrificing your privacy in the name of transparency. Think about that for a second. I think this is hilarious. In my personal opinion, is like when people make videos about a personal, hard, trying time that they've gone through online and stuff like that for the sake of content. Everything about your life becomes content, right? And so if like you go through, you know, a tragic event, you know, a family member passes away or something along those lines, and you go online and you start talking about it and how it makes you feel, right? People say, well, you know, we appreciate your transparency. Transparency in what? Transparency is to say, like, governmental transparency is where's our money going? Where are tax dollars going? That's transparency. This is sacrifice of personal autonomy. This is sacrifice of privacy. That's not transparency. Someone online telling you about the personal aspects of their fucking life isn't transparency. You have no right to know what a creator's life is. That's not transparency. That is sacrifice of privacy. And we cheer it on like it's actually fucking meaningful. Because like it means something to us. You don't know these people. You don't know me. There can be human compassion, sure, but you don't know me. At the end of the day, you watch my lives, you watch my podcasts, you listen to me talk, but you don't know me. I'm not your friend. I'm a personality that you watch online. And then to sit there and say that if I were to tell you anything personal about my life is transparency is just bullshit. It's not transparency. It's sacrifice of autonomy. It's sacrifice of privacy. And then we try to interact with online creators like we have some type of personal connection with these people. We don't know them. They're not our friends. Somebody diving deep into the hardships of their life isn't transparency, because transparency, saying something is transparent or someone is showing transparency about personal aspects of their life is to assume that you have a right to know. And you don't. That's the assumption there. And I've seen it used so many times, right? Like you use when people talk about like, you know, like online creators and talking about their personal lives, and people call it transparency. It's not transparency because you don't have a right to know. You don't have that privilege. And the bigger problem is the fact that the creators think that they need to use hardship as content because it makes it real. Really? So this is why I say that this shit is so fucking dystopian. It's ridiculous. It really fucking is. But this is the trick of techno-occultism, right? Is we have figured out a way to manipulate other human beings into sacrificing information that in previous generations people would actively choose not to talk about it to people that they knew didn't give a shit about it. And now we've created the illusion for content creators that somehow talking about the hardships that they're going through is a necessary process of being a content creator. It's literally it has gotten to a point, right, where one of the reasons why, like when we were kids, bands, like if we look at musicians, we look at bands like, you know, Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, Alice Cooper, Marilyn Manson, Nine Inch Nails, you know, with Trent Reznor, all of these people, all these personalities, right? So the fun part of the fun of it, right, were the rumors, right? Because we didn't know what the fuck these people actually did in their you know, their private time. Right? We saw the music videos, we saw the album artwork, we saw the concerts. We never saw what they did when they were sitting down eating fucking dinner. We wanted to know. We wanted to know because there's that mystery. And so what we did is we created these rumors. But it has gotten to a point, and I don't think people realize this, you know more about me than I will ever know about all of you. Think about how fucking dangerous that is. Like, let that sit and process for a second. It has become almost a pre-fucking requisite of being a content creator that you know more about me in my life than I know about any of you. The hundreds, if not thousands of people that watch my shit know more about me, my family, where I live, all of these things than I know about them. I mean, it's become disgustingly disproportionate in the sense that a content creator has now gotten to a point that any type of autonomy or any type of agency or privacy needs to be forego in order to make content. Because of a consumer's incessant necessity to peek behind the curtain. And this is what, when I talk about techno-occultism or, you know, just like modern technology, because at the end of the day, I mean, if you think about it, you know, it's occultism. It's uncovering the hidden, right? That's what it is. It's using technology to uncover the hidden. And what hidden are we talking about? We're not talking about a spiritual hidden. We're talking about the hidden of its users, right? The hidden information and nitbits of its users and its creators. So, yeah, it's kind of fucking terrifying when you sit there and you think about it. Yeah, newscasters don't go through it because, well, I mean, it's changed though. It has changed, right? Because there was an understanding. Everything has become personality now, right? So there's an understanding. If you think about, right, you know, kind of like how things have evolved with content creation or any type of content. Because content creation, when we say content creation, we think smaller creators, right? We think like channels like myself or like, you know, other people on YouTube and stuff like that. But I mean, everyone like CNN, they're content creators. They create content, right? Like Fox News, they make content, right? But it's increasingly become more about personality than it is about the information. So like appreciated and good newscasters back in like, you know, the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s were the people that gave it to you straight, right? Like they were non-biased, you know, they gave you the information and, you know, they gave it to you in a way that, you know, didn't make you feel like you needed to feel a certain way, and people would say that's a good journalist. Now it's about opinions, and like people, the anchors on CNN and, you know, stuff like that have now become, you know, no different than myself, right? In recent era, right? In the last probably like 20 years, there's been that shift where everything is about personality, and you could definitely notice that, like when it comes down to like the political elections in the United States, right? It's not about policy anymore. It's about who you like. Right? It's not about actual policy and what actually is going to affect you, which is what it should have always been about. It's about, do I like this person or do I not like this person? That's what it's about. They weren't inherently being like, they weren't being rude or anything, but like it's just kind of irritating when people come in and start talking about shit that has nothing to do with the topic. Like they find themselves so arrogantly important that they feel like they can just jump into, alive and just redirect the conversation to what they want to talk about instead of what the actual subject is. I'm in a very unforgiving mood this morning. So, yeah. So, well, it kind of is what it is. I mean, and that's also like another thing. It's like the whole fucking, dichotomy of everything, the duality of everything, right? Like, it's so forced. It's so disingenuous. Like I said, it's not about policy anymore. It's about whether or not you like the person or you don't like the person. And hold on a second, guys. Somebody's woken up. But so yeah, it's just it's there's so much more to cover with this. There really is. And I feel like I'm running on these tangents, right? Playing on both your houses. So, I am definitely going on tangents here, but if we're going to go into, right, so, now how interfaces, right, so guide ritual action. Ritual is structured repetition with symbolic meaning. Interfaces are ritual manuals, right? They dictate sequence, posture, attention, and timing. So, unlock phone, check notifications, scroll feed, respond, repeat. Morning alarm followed by immediate screen exposure sets neurological tone. No belief required. Repetition does the work, right? And the illusion of neutrality in design. Neutral tools do not exist. Design always privileges someone's goal. When neutrality is claimed, power is being hidden, right? Platforms claim to be just tools while optimizing for ad revenue, right? Your user choice exists only inside pre-selected options. If you cannot opt out without friction, neutrality is a lie. And this is what we're dealing with, like when we look at this stuff. Like all of this stuff is like like, I'm shocked that people don't look at this. You know, they don't look at these things. Like, you're being forced into habits. Think about it. When cell phones first existed, we didn't spend countless hours on our phones. We still existed with each other. We had the communication devices. We were able to make phone calls, send a text message, you know, all of these things. We were able to do all of that. But we still coexisted. We went out for coffee. We went out to dinner. We went to parties. We spent time with our families, right? And in the name of connection and making the world a smaller place, we slowly began to add more and more and more, you know, to these devices and what they do. And it's finally gotten to a point that in my own household, like, you know, it's hard to see anyone in my house, you know, spend less than 5 minutes without a screen glued to their face. You know, and it's kind of sad that's our existence. We exist inside this space. I mean, even me right now, I don't have a phone in my face, but I still have 3 screens glowing on me right now. You know, and guess what? This dystopia, we let it happen. It's by our design. We created this. We asked for it. We wanted it. And now we have it. I would have bigger screens myself. Yeah, I've got 2 27 inches and a 12 incher, which soon will be a 15.6 inch. Possibly. Oh, what's wrong? What's wrong? Been very fussy lately. Let me get him off to his mother. I'll be right back, chat. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that, chat. All right, and while I'm finishing this up, I will be getting ready for work as well. So the next part that we're going to be talking about is the digital daemon explained, right? So what we're looking at, daemon as like autonomous process, algorithms as invisible actors, feedback loops as behavioral enchantment, right? So a daemon is not a little red guy with opinions. It is a process that runs without supervision, executes a task, and persists until stopped. In computing, that definition is literal. In occult terms, it's familiar for a reason. Once a process is launched, it does not care about you, it cares about its function. right? So some examples here would be, so background services on your phone collect data while you sleep. Auto moderation systems flag content without context or intent. Ad bidding systems make financial decisions in milliseconds, no human involved. The key feature is autonomy. Excuse me. The key feature is autonomy. The process continues even when the creator is absent. That's the threshold where tools stop being tools and start acting. So algorithms as invisible actors. Algorithms don't sit. They're passively waiting for input. They observe, predict, prioritize, and intervene. They don't see, and you don't see them, but you feel their presence through outcomes. So what do the algorithms decide? They decide what you see, what you don't see, what repeats, what escalates, right? So two people search the same term and get radically different results. A platform boosts emotionally charged content because it increases dwell time. Quiet, nuanced material is buried because it slows interaction. That's agency without embodiment, invisible actors shaping reality by controlling exposure. And this is how these systems work, right? These systems work on the basis of, like, algorithms have one goal and one goal only. Keep end users engaged. Keep people on their content, right? If somebody sits down and they interact with something, continuously or quite a bit, they're going to show you more of that or similar things to that to keep you going, to keep you moving, to keep you attached, right? That's what it's going to do. That's what it does all the time. Like even right now, whether or not my live, gets pushed out is dependent on how many people come in and how many people stay in, right? So the more people that come to this live and sit on this live and watch this live in its entirety with audio, because it does dictate and know whether or not audio is on, the algorithm will know that that's a thing, and then it'll start to push it out because it's like, okay, if these people like it, then other people will probably like this too, right? So let's push it out to more people because people spend more time on YouTube if they're watching this, right? The more views and stuff like that you get, the more it pushes you out, which is why when you first start a channel, when you first start content, that is like your golden era, because the platform doesn't know what kind of content you're making. So what it'll do is they'll start pushing your shit out to everybody. And then as people click on it and as people continue to watch it, if that's what happens, then they continue to do that because they notice, oh, this is functional and beneficial to the platform. So let's see where we're at. I lost my spot because I had to log into work. So So feedback loops as behavioral enhancement. A feedback loop rewards specific behavior until it becomes habit, then identity. This is not persuasion, it's conditioning. So what's the loop structure? Action, reward, reinforcement, and escalation, right? Post content, get likes, dopamine spikes, post again. Argue online, gain visibility, feel validated, argue harder. Scroll endlessly, avoid discomfort, reinforce avoidance. The loop doesn't care if the behavior is healthy, only that it repeats. That's enchantment without belief. Right? So these systems do not reflect what you want. They train you into what you want next, right? So they work by tracking micro behaviors, testing emotional responses, and adjusting content in real time. So think about it. If you're normally scrolling and you like a couple of posts, but then there's one post that you stop on, you like it, or even if you don't like it, you leave a comment and then you share it with somebody else. What content are they going to show you more of? They're going to show you more content that you interact in a more meaningful way with. So they're not going to show you more of what you like. They're going to show you more of what you're commenting on and sharing with other people. Because then when you share it, you get a response. Then you explain why you shared it. You explain in the comment why you didn't like the content. And this is why rage bait content has become so prevalent in social media today. Because it's what people are interacting with. You find somebody that you don't like, you're more likely to stop and argue with that person in the chat than you are, to scroll past it. So they're going to show you more shit that you don't like, more shit that raises your blood pressure, that makes you upset, right? You are the product. Your data is you. You are giving yourself away for free for nothing. Exactly, 100%. 100%. 100%. So, yeah, so watch one video about fitness. Suddenly your feed frames your body as a problem. Engage with one political clip, your feed polarizes within hours. Pause too long on rage content, it multiplies. Desire is no longer internal, it is prompted, redefined, and amplified externally. And I think one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this so much, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys probably thought like this was going a completely different direction based on the title, but and I make online content, obviously, right? I make TikToks, I make, reels for Instagram, I do posts, I do a lot of stuff. I make a lot of content. But it's the way that we interact with it it's the problem. And then the people that feed the algorithm to take advantage of it. Because the thing is if the algorithm didn't benefit people that make rage bait content or stuff like that, then it wouldn't be made, right? People wouldn't be making it. The reason rage bait content exists is because the algorithm rewards people that make content with that by pushing their content out to more people. So when you make something intentionally to piss people off, it's okay to piss people off. It's okay to offend people. Like I don't care about that, right? Being offended is part of being human, right? And so like if you have an opinion that, offends other people, that's not their problem. It's not your problem, it's their problem. Because they're the ones that are offended. But I've always maintained that there is a line of being shocking for the sake of being shocking alone is just too simple and simple-minded. And it's too easy. There's a short list of shit that you can talk about that's going to offend either people on either side, right, of the aisle here. If we're talking about duality. And so if you have an opinion that offends people, there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with expressing it and having that conversation. But to continue harping on a particular thing just because it pisses people off, because you want the interaction, it rewards people in making that content. It rewards people in making content that intentionally pisses people off. Why? Because you're interacting with it. The age-old saying, right? If you ignore the bully will leave you alone because the bully wants a reaction. People that make rage bait content are bullies. Not in the traditional sense, but they still are. And that rage bait content is, well, when you interact with it, you help it persist. You help it stay. Mm-hmm. So, you know, if you ignore the bully, eventually the bully will go away. I don't like what social media has become. I'm grateful that it exists, and I'm grateful that I'm able to do this. I'm grateful that I'm able to sit here with you most mornings and have these conversations with you guys, and that you guys find meaning in the things that I talk about and the ideas that I have. And so I'm grateful for that. But that does not change the fact that I do not like the direction that social media has gone. Because it used to be social networking. It used to be about connecting with people with similar ideas to be able to create something amazing. And now it's just about selling your soul at the end of the day. When you can't go more than a half an hour without putting a screen in front of your face and doom scrolling, there's something wrong. And we need to be able to identify that. We need to be able to identify, okay, something's wrong. Because it is. And unfortunately, I don't have a solution because most of our society now is online. Like, I used to watch things like Serial Experiments Lane, like if you guys are into, anime at all. And I was like, wow, that's very dystopian. It's very kind of like, crazy, like this idea of like being so dependent on technology. And the thing is like the definition of dependency has changed, hasn't it? Because if you go back in like, to the 80s, maybe the early 90s, like the definition of dependence was, being sitting in front of a computer all day, right? You watch like a 1980s movie or 1990s movie on a hacker, about a hacker, and you see this guy, sitting down at a desk, like with a CRT monitor glowing on his face, drinking Coke and, eating chips. And you're like, oh, wow, that's just disgusting. That's like, how could people live that way? And now that's been normalized. The people that sit down in front of their computers all day, eating at their desk, that's normalized. Now, the next step is trying to make it more science fiction, which is, being obsessed with technology, is having somehow like, technology integrated into your body, connected to your face all day. Guess what? That's starting to happen. Ray-Ban's part of it, right? Like the whole Google created the AR glasses, the augmented reality glasses, right? It's already there. The technology is already there. It just needs to be refined. Now you don't even have to pick up your phone. It's connected to your face all the goddamn time. Each step of dystopia, or what we used to label as dystopia, is being redefined as innovation. And we are slowly moving towards that dystopian future that we're so afraid of, because we're rebranding this dystopian aspect as innovation. And so now we want it. We're asking for it. We're too lazy to pick up our phones. We want our phones connected to our face all the time now. Like, phones used to be fun. Used to have the sliders and the flip phones and, the ones that went to the side, like, the Nokia ones, the sidekicks. They used to be fun and interesting and innovative and different. There's a reason why all phone companies create a phone the same way. Think about that. There's a reason why the design is standardized as a rectangular fucking slab, and it keeps getting bigger. The resolutions keep getting higher. The brightness keeps going up. Anything that becomes a standardized design across companies, there is a reason for it. And I don't know how we dropped the fucking ball on this one. Phones stopped being innovative and fun and interesting when they finally figured out the design that everyone needs for everyone to be using it. Before, it was because you thought something was cool. My first phone was a slider, Kyocera slider. I thought the slider was cool. Since the iPhone, they've all become rectangular slabs. Is it more functional? Yeah, overall it's more functional. But it's also easier to consume. And that's the thing. It's about consumption. It's not about creation. We have computers in our pockets that are 100 times more powerful than the computer used to put astronauts on the moon. Regardless of whether or not you believe we actually went to the moon, it's neither here nor there. That's not the conversation. The point is, the computer that was used to do that was 100 times less powerful than what's in your pocket right now. And what do you use that technology for? What do you use that power for that's in your pocket? To send a text message? To post a picture on Instagram? We have access now to artificial brains that can hammer out calculation faster than any human on the planet. And people are using it to fill a relationship void? Like, are you fucking serious? Like, you want to talk about a dystopian future? Motherfucker, we're there. ChatGPT's Google with a brain. And that's all we use it for. That's all we use it for. Most people. There's something wrong with society, and we keep falling backwards. And we're concerned about the president? It's like, really? Like, we have the power to do something amazing at our fingertips, and we do nothing. We keep repeating the same pattern of behaviors over and over and over again. And what is the definition of insanity? Repeating the same action, hoping for a different outcome. The United States falls inside of a two-party system, Democrat or Republican. All the problems that have existed continue to exist, and we keep flopping back and forth between the two of them, hoping that something is going to change. When has it? When has it changed? You keep falling inside of this duality, hoping something is going to change. And you ignore the spectrum. Duality exists to explain the extremes, not the middle ground. It's sad. This is why, like, I try to focus on like old world traditions when it comes to occultism, and I try to fervently avoid anything really modern, because our ancestors understood something, and our ancestors had a balance that we lack. Our ancestors had a balance with society and the world that does not exist today. Everything is dependent on extremes. And if you don't see something wrong with that, you're part of the problem. mass consumption. Curate your circle, grow it slowly, and work to self-reflect at the concepts. I agree with that statement, Maeve. And so I think the point of today's episode, if anything, is the noise that we talked about at the beginning, the reading at the beginning. The noise from the collective, the noise around us, the noise from other people. We live in a society that is fervently stuck on noise. We depend on the noise. We shove it in our faces every single day. Anyway, guys, I gotta get to work. Thank you all for being here. You guys are fucking amazing. I hope you found something good in today's episode. And as always, hail thy fucking self. I'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out, everybody.